In the quaint countryside town of Willowbrook, where cobblestone streets wind through charming buildings and vibrant gardens, there stands a grand mansion that commands attention from all who pass by. This mansion is the home of Miss Uppity, the wealthiest and most esteemed woman in town. A sleek black limousine pulls up to the front gate, and the chauffeur steps out to open the door. Out steps Miss Uppity, a woman in her late 40s, impeccably dressed in designer attire. Her demeanor exudes confidence and superiority as she surveys the town with a haughty expression. With her head held high and her elegant attire catching the sunlight, she moves through the streets with an air of superiority, her mere presence turning heads and eliciting whispers of admiration. Meet Miss Uppity, a woman of unparalleled wealth and influence in the small town of Willowbrook. With each graceful step, she commands the attention of all who cross her path, her presence a symbol of status and prestige. Miss Uppity's reputation precedes her as she navigates the town with poise and confidence. Her every step exudes a sense of entitlement, and her regal demeanor leaves no doubt as to her status among the townsfolk. She is a figure of wealth and influence, and she carries herself as such. With her nose pointed high in the air, her gaze fixed on the horizon and a regal poise that sets her apart from the crowd. Miss Uppity is a vision of refinement and sophistication. Her every movement exudes an aura of superiority, as if she were born to rule over the town with an iron fist. But beneath the facade of wealth and privilege lies a woman consumed by ambition and pride, whose thirst for power knows no bounds. And as she continues on her path of self-aggrandizement, little does Miss Uppity know that her journey will soon take an unexpected turn, leading her down a path of humility and redemption. One fateful day, a delicate envelope arrives at the doorstep of Miss Uppity's grand mansion, bearing an invitation. It bears the emblem of the annual town fair, a celebration of community and camaraderie. With a disdainful scoff, she brushes it aside, deeming such a gathering beneath her station. Miss Uppity scoffs at the idea of mingling with the common folk. To her, such gatherings hold no allure, for she is accustomed to the finer things in life. However, her loyal butler, Mr. Beaumont, ever faithful and wise, sees potential in the invitation, believing it to be an opportunity for Miss Uppity to learn the value of humility. He sees beyond Miss Uppity's prideful facade. With gentle persuasion, he encourages her to attend the town fair, hoping that amidst the simplicity of the festivities, she may discover the value of humility. Despite her reservations, Miss Uppity reluctantly agrees to attend the town fair, unaware of the profound impact it will have on her life. For in the midst of the humble surroundings of the fair, she will come face to face with the truths she has long sought to ignore. Her pristine attire contrasting sharply with the bustling activity of the fairgrounds. As she steps onto the scene, she is met with curious glances and hushed whispers from the townsfolk, who are surprised to see her in their midst. Reluctantly, Miss Uppity arrives at the town fair, where the energy of the crowd contrasts sharply with her own aloof demeanor. As she steps onto the fairgrounds, she is met with curious glances and whispered comments from the townsfolk, who are both surprised and intrigued by her presence. As Miss Uppity explores the fairgrounds, she encounters various humble individuals, each with their own unique talents and kindness to offer. However, she remains aloof and dismissive, failing to recognize the warmth and sincerity of those around her. Ignoring the stares and whispers that follow her every move, Miss Uppity marches through the fairgrounds, her gaze fixed firmly ahead. Her presence is a stark contrast to the jovial atmosphere of the fair, as she exudes an aura of superiority that sets her apart from the crowd. Unfazed by the lively sights and sounds of the fair, Miss Uppity continues on her path, her nose still in the air. But little does she know, the events that unfold at the fair will challenge her perception of the world around her, and ultimately, lead her on a journey of self-discovery and redemption.
In a twist of fate, a sudden gust of wind sweeps through the fairgrounds, disrupting the serenity of the scene. Miss Uppity's pristine world is shattered as her prized hat is lifted from her head by the unruly breeze. Shocked and embarrassed, Miss Uppity can only stand frozen in place as her once immaculate hat lands with a splat in a nearby mud puddle, its elegant design now tarnished by the filth of the earth. For Miss Uppity, the humiliation is palpable as she watches helplessly, her heart sinking with each passing moment. Her perfectly coiffed hair, once a symbol of her status and sophistication, is now marred by the muddy remnants of her prized possession. In that moment of vulnerability, Miss Uppity is forced to confront the fragility of her carefully constructed world. For the first time in her life, she is stripped bare, her ego shattered by a simple twist of fate. And as she stares down at her ruined hat, she realizes that true humility cannot be bought or earned, it must be embraced with an open heart and a willingness to learn. To Miss Uppity's surprise, the townsfolk rushed to her aid without hesitation, their kindness and empathy shining through in her moment of need. The farmer, with a weathered face and gentle eyes, offers Miss Uppity his handkerchief without a second thought. His simple act of kindness serves as a ray of light in the darkness of her humiliation. Nearby, a talented musician begins to play a cheerful tune on his guitar, the melody lifting Miss Uppity's spirits and bringing a smile to her face despite her embarrassment. Finally, the local baker arrives with a tray of freshly baked treats, offering Miss Uppity a delicious pastry with a warm smile. His gesture of generosity reminds her that goodness and kindness can be found in the most unexpected of places. In that moment, surrounded by the warmth and generosity of the community, Miss Uppity's heart begins to soften. She realizes that despite her pride and arrogance, there is goodness in the world, and it exists within the hearts of those around her. Overwhelmed by the outpouring of kindness from those around her, Miss Uppity's icy exterior begins to thaw. The walls she has built around her heart begin to crumble in the face of such genuine compassion. With each act of kindness, Miss Uppity's perspective begins to shift. She realizes the error of her ways, recognizing the depth of her own arrogance and the emptiness of her pursuit of power and prestige. In that moment of vulnerability, Miss Uppity finds the courage to let go of her pride and ego. She humbly accepts the help and support of those around her, her heart swelling with gratitude for their unwavering kindness. And so, amidst the humble surroundings of the town fair, Miss Uppity undergoes a profound transformation, a transformation of heart and soul. With her icy exterior melted away, she emerges as a changed woman, ready to embrace a new way of life, one guided by compassion, humility, and the simple joys of human connection. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Miss Uppity sits down with her trusted confidant, Mr. Beaumont, to reflect on the events of the day. The weight of her actions and their impact on those around her weighs heavily on her heart. With tears welling up in her eyes, Miss Uppity confesses to Mr. Beaumont that she has been living a life driven by greed and ambition, blind to the true meaning of happiness and fulfillment. With Mr. Beaumont's guidance, Miss Uppity comes to understand that true wealth cannot be measured in material possessions or worldly success. Instead, it lies in the richness of the heart, in the bonds we share with others and the kindness we show to those in need. In that heartfelt conversation, Miss Uppity makes a solemn vow to change her ways, to let go of her selfish desires and embrace a life guided by compassion, empathy, and humility. And so, with a renewed sense of purpose burning within her, Miss Uppity sets out to spread kindness and generosity wherever she goes, her heart overflowing with the true wealth that can only come from within. With a renewed sense of humility and a heart open to new experiences, Miss Uppity returns to the fairgrounds, ready to embrace the community she once dismissed. Laughter fills the air as Miss Uppity joins in the festivities, dancing with abandon and reveling in the camaraderie of the community. With each step, she feels the weight of her past arrogance lifting from her shoulders, replaced by a lightness of being that she has never known before. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the fairgrounds, Miss Uppity stands before the crowd, her heart overflowing with gratitude for their kindness and friendship. In a stirring speech, Miss Uppity expresses her deepest gratitude to the townsfolk for their kindness and acceptance, acknowledging that their generosity has changed her life in ways she never thought possible. And as the final rays of sunlight fade into the night, Miss Uppity bids farewell to the fairgrounds, her heart full and her spirit renewed. With Mr. Beaumont by her side, she embarks on a new chapter filled with humility, kindness, and the joy of genuine human connection.